Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the thing show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. Now, this page is just really, if you just want to know simple fact stuff that a little thinking would show you. That's all. Just a little thinking would show you. Nothing's not too complex about the people. It's just that they've been trained to be confused. And many of us, we don't want to look at ourselves. We don't want to look at ourselves and make changes. We just run into these ideologies and these ideas that are going on. And we try to fit ourselves into that. It don't work. America, America, translate into different languages as rich soul, rich love, rich soul. That's what you look at. What are these words that we're using? Because many of us wouldn't even recognize how we spoke and how we communicated with each other. Many of us wouldn't even know, wouldn't even begin how your grandmothers and great great grandmothers spoke and communicated with each other, because those same ideologies and those same cultural norms have been lost. And the so-called African American and the so-called Black has picked up other people's ways of doing things, and it has them what's in the situation that you see today. So in order to facilitate this, they needed to be confused. You have to confuse them. If you're going to take over their land, destroy their culture, and make money off of it, and have them with you, you must confuse them. You must teach them things that they won't even think of themselves. They just don't come up with, I wonder, how is that possible? That's the depth that you have to confuse them. And that starts what, Sunday school? And what's the first institution that subdued you and let in the military to conquer you? It was the church. How come we don't ever talk about that? How come that's never talked about? How come you never hear anything about the church when it's, worldwide, what it's done? What do you think it would be different here? The church is the start of all your problems. Um, if you if you would like to refute that fact, you can please step up and explain how it's not. How it's not. I'm gonna share. I'm gonna invite you to the chat. Explain how the church isn't the problem. I would suggest you check out the Boy Scouts. Why the Boy Scout is now defunct, and check out the church's role in it. For those of you who do that, what you call Black and African Americans, they're not they don't search information. They're not into it. They don't do it. They don't believe in it. They believe in doing what they're told. Any Black person, any African American person, I don't care how much money they got, because you see, that's just a ploy to trick you that you fall for every time so you can screw yourself even deeper. But you always do, don't you? So how does this go on? How do you constantly be confused? And this is what I mean. This says the evolution of identity crisis. And it's the de-evolution of identity crisis. Because when you let other people tell you who you are and you start acting like, start believing, start feeling like that's you, you become that. The indigenous people didn't introduce themselves to nobody as black. That's what they were called. It's a term, kind of like you telling dog to sit. It's not a identity. It's a command. And when you call yourself black, you are making sure that you are blocking everything about yourself from yourself. The chat, share the chat, explain how it's not. Because if this is the intelligence that you're leaving your children and the generation that come before you, how do you expect them to make it? Seriously. What so-called blacks, the people who call themselves blacks and African American, what do you think is at the end of the tunnel for their children? Be honest. So we're going to go through the evolution of the identity crisis and show you even this chart is twisted. But I'll show you. And when we get to the end of this, you're going to be like, damn, we like that. Yeah. So the first one, they have the Nation of Islam. And I won't go into, you can do your own research. 5 minutes into each of these things, if you're asking them some pertinent questions, you damn, teach yourself. Stop letting other people come tell you what's what, because they're going to lie to you in order to influence you. Isn't that what's been going on? So the first one, Nation of Islam. First of all, Nation of Islam didn't come in the 1950s. So, it's not a big deal, but it was way before that. The Nation of Islam came in the 30s, the 1930s. The dude who bought it over was a cat named Fard Muhammad. Ambiguous beginnings. Nobody knows who he was. He just disappeared from the earth. That type hocus pocus stuff to get you to believe anything. You'll notice in all the religions presented to you, it's always some God thing. But yet, when you ask indigenous people who claim that they're indigenous from America, when you ask them, well, what were the religious ideologies of the people here? Nobody knows. Know everything else. Biggest hand boners in church. But when you ask them about their spiritual practice here in America before the coming of the foreigners, they go give you a blank deer in the headlight stare. They don't know. Shouldn't you know that if you know all the other ones? People who call themselves African American or black, they don't even care. They just gonna do what boss say. That's their only purpose. So Nation of Islam came in 1933. The founder, who, when I was a kid, you walk into a Muslim mosque or whatever, they had a picture of this dude hanging up in the church, Fard Muhammad. I know you've heard of him. They'll have Elijah Muhammad behind him, but Fard Muhammad, those images are up everywhere. When you dig into Fard Muhammad, he was a heroin dealer. And then if you just think a little bit, you'll see that heroin hit the so-called Black African American community harder than the crack era hit the African American community. They were there to sell you dope and use the Nation of Islam to run it, right or wrong. Don't let this information pass up your kids, because you're going to have them doing the same thing you're doing now. And when you finally come to the conclusion that your children are just an extension of you and you're just an extension of your grandfather, it'll all make sense. It's going to take the African American and Black probably another 40 or 50 years to understand that. Just ask them, talk to them, ask them questions. They won't know. So do your research. Like I said, it won't take 5 minutes. Get your kids to do it. They'll do it and come up with some cold stuff. Train the children, and everybody else around them will be trained. How come we don't do that when educating ourselves? How come the schools have been poor since Brown versus the Board of Education? Really, you can't come up with a way to educate your children to make them win. You just send them to the same crap that screwed you up. That's what African American and Black people do. They don't come up with a way, hey, let's do it like they don't believe in that. Indigenous. The best way to understand this is simple, and then you'll get into it. Is in the genes. Indigenous in the genes. What are the genes? The genes are everything that makes you up. Your environment, and I'm talking about on a microscopic level. So if you take your DNA blood and you take a blood sample yourself, you'll find that your blood has the same blood in it as your great grandmother, right? How come Blacks and African Americans doesn't do that for themselves? And let other people do it. Let other people tell them what to do. Don't they? Then pass that to their kids like a baton. Keep moving. Don't they? Tell the truth. Once you tell the truth, you'll start vibrating away from the bullshit that you've been taught. So the Nation of Islam, it's a group that we want to take all our spiritual entities, some of us, and worship these people. And these were the people that wiped out a significant part of your population in the 30s. They putting all the TV shows and movies out on it. How heroin was delivered to your community and you are the one running it. Those are some of the highest rated programs. That's to teach you today to do the same thing. If you want to get paid, that's what your children are being taught. So that's a identity crisis that we're in. Not all of us, of course, but many of us follow it. John Jukes says, my sister did the DNA test via 2 different companies. Both showed African countries. So this is what I'm saying. These are people who won't even think that sending a swab of spit to people you don't even know, you don't even know, don't care, and they tell you you can come from hell, guess what you'll say? Yeah, they told me I come from hell. But you won't check out yourself. You won't, ugh, the Black African American, right or wrong, right or wrong. Tell the truth, because if you don't, you're going to keep confusing these children. You're going to keep confusing them. The next one is the African. Here it says the Africans came. Uh, what? Well, I don't know. It's a part on here. It has the dates when all of these came. But it says the Africans came in the 1970s. Um, African was, and like I say, it'll take you a minute to just look this up. The African was delivered to the masses in the form of TV, movies. There was a movie that came out in the 1960s called Raisin in the Sun. Many of you have heard of it. If you have it, I mean, it's not really a good movie, but that's when but people are to those actors and actresses, a lot of so-called Negroes, African American, blacks, that's all they're trained by. And in the movie Raisin in the Sun, the sister had the hots for an African. And the family was looking around like, what's that? That's when they first introduced. See, things aren't done in 30 minutes. How most people live their life watching TV, a basketball game. They draw things out 30, 40 years. So the generations that's going out can die, and the ones coming in can pick it up. I would suggest you pay particular attention to that, because that's your life. That's how your past. That's how your past and your future is controlled. That's why you have to know who you are, so you'll understand who you're supposed to be. You can't let people tell you who you are and you answer to it, and arrogant about it. So Africans came in the 50s. I'm talking about the idea of the African, because remember, Europe, Asia, and Africa is connected like Canada, North America, South America, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. It's the same landmass. Borders don't make it stop being the same landmass. Just because somebody writes a border on the map doesn't mean it's like that in real life. You would think we would know that by now. You would think we would understand that by now. So the African thing has been going on for a long time. Uh, it became real popular in the 80s. People say that Jesse Jackson came up with it. No. You will see, if you just study a little bit of Jesse Jackson, you will realize he's too stupid to come up with anything. His job is to do one thing: work for the king. Know these people and know these groups and organizations that you follow and empower. Teach it to your children so they'll know, so they'll stop being had. You see how the church is falling away now. Why? Because people are learning about it. They're showing, they're thinking. Not all, but a lot are. A lot are. The church isn't popping how it used to pop. Why? Because people are seeing the light. George Clinton said everybody's got a little light under the sun. If you choose to stay in the dark, if you choose to remain black, if you refuse to take yourself, you vibrate with this planet. What does America, what does it translate into Spanish and French? The people who they say claim came here first, Spanish and the French. From their languages, what does American translate to? Rich soul. Rich soul. You ask anybody in the world who the soul people are, who are they going to say? I'm talking anybody in the world. Who are they going to say? I've been to a few different countries. I've heard them say it. Everybody. So that's when you get into with these Native Americans, ask them that. If you're a Native American, what does America translate to in Spanish and French? Most of them are not going to know, but you argue with them. You ain't got to argue with nothing. You just have to know. You can't stop taking people's word for it. What you say. In this culture, you're taught to keep your mouth shut. So most people don't want to talk. They talk and argue so the conversation can get deeper. Notice this about these conversations that's happening now. You go to have a conversation, everybody piles on. That's a trick. You are not supposed to know anything. When these people dogged out your ancestors, that was to screw you over. You don't even see it. You will join them in helping them destroy you, won't you? See, nobody wants to talk about that. That's why it just keeps getting swept under the rug and getting swept from under the rug a generation later. So the purpose of Africa was to disconnect you from the land, have your mind somewhere far away where you stand and has no merit. I don't believe in that. Africa's my mama. For real, cuz that's what the African American and Black people do. It ain't what they say, it's what they do. Tell me I'm lying. I mean, I would like to have an African American and Black come up to an FDA, all these stupid names that people come up with to confuse you. So that was the purpose of teaching you to be African, to disconnect you from the land so outsiders can come in and take your whatever you had. Matter of fact, and you give to them, don't you? The hotel, I don't know where that came from. I don't know where, I don't know what you would think, what would make you think people living in a desert would be somebody to emulate. So when you ask these hotels, hey man, how did Egypt become a desert? I don't know. Yet they talk and keep confusing everybody. Why is that area over there? Why is everything that Negroes follow desert? Doesn't produce anything. Sand. And where they come from, where their parents, grandparents, great grandparents come from, most people call it the land of milk and honey. How is it that they claim a desert? Nobody knows. Nobody told. I don't know. Explain that. What's this Egypt? And remember, this whole school thing, how we wanted to go ahead and go into these schools and get the same education. How's that going? You done damn near had 75 years of that. How's that going? How has the world become a better place? How is where the places you come from, how are they prospering? I had a sister call me. She said, you know what? When I first heard you, I hated you. But I couldn't stop thinking about what you were saying. And she said, one day I went to a place where I grew up. I was a little girl. And it brought back memories from me because I remember we used to eat from the land. It'd be blackberries, peaches, trees all over, nuts everywhere. She said, now I go to those places and those places aren't there no more. I'm like, well, yeah, they're destroying your environment. You don't care. She said, as long as you get the jam and the big apple, you cool. As long as you get to go to LA to ice skate on the concrete, you cool. Black African Americans don't care where their grandmothers are from. They don't care. Most don't. Those who leave and never come back. Those who not trying to build on what they're from. Those people. They go to other people and set up shop there and act like they're doing something. That's what African Americans and black people do. So the whole Egyptian thing was a short. This is what I'm saying. The de-evolution of the identity crisis. I know Negroes that got unks tattooed on their arm. What happened? What happened to that area? When I was in Egypt, the children, the real Egyptians were living under a bridge. They had flies the size of your hand. That's how they do the indigenous and Egyptian people. You don't even see them. You see all these people walking around with guns and stuff, keeping those people at bay. For those of you who have never been, don't go. Go to where your people are from. I'm sure they left a mark. Then we go to the more. Is this the biggest confusion in the world? More like you argue and try to sound smart. That trying to sound smart, it really makes you sound dumb. So when you act, and this is what and to get to the matter, so you won't be confusion. Always ask somebody, did you name yourself Moors, or did somebody come in and call you more? I don't know. That's what's going to be said. Did you name yourself more, or did somebody call you more? First thing they're going to do is lie. That's the first thing they're going to do. It's just like black people. Did you call yourself black, or did other people call you black? They gonna lie and say they named themselves black. You didn't. You have no proof of that. Now you have proof of other things that your people refer themselves to, that other people call them. If you just take up, like I said, take the term America, what does it mean? What's the definition of it? The first definition describes what you would call an African American or Black. I mean, this is 300 years, 200 years old, over 200 years old. The average, I'm not saying all, because we have some brilliant. I mean, it makes me want to cry sometime how all this brilliance is popping up and is not being put together so it could flow. Because 90% of the indigenous people in America have their energy going into some of these ideologies you see on the screen. So when you see a Moor and they're talking, ask them, did you call yourself Moors or did somebody else call you Moors? Then after they finish fumbling around lying, you're going to realize that other people called them Moor. What was the name for themselves in Morocco? You know that? Because those people, those indigenous people over there, they didn't write with an M. They didn't write with an O. They didn't write with an R. They didn't write with an. That wasn't the way they communicated. That's why we sound so dumb claiming all these other ideologies and they have nothing to do with you. They're there to burn up your energy and stop complaining because you make it happen. Where do Moors come from? The desert. Remember, you're always in a barren land. So you'll have a barren mind. So you'll have barren thoughts. So you'll have barren words. You'll be barren. You'll be Black. You don't get it? They're words used to put you in a certain position. These aren't terms and ideas that you come up with yourself. These are words and terms that other people come up with. You take them and wear like a gold chain, don't you? Yeah. More. Ask them that question. Did you call yourself Moors or did somebody else name you Moor? Then you get into the Hebrew Israelite, the biblical stuff. I mean, to talk to these cats, you have to want to vomit. All throughout the Bible, all throughout the Bible, it tells you how to dog your kids out. All through the Bible. We're going to do that on the next program too, because to me, that's like a bitch move, always going to the Bible for something. And it's probably the most evilest garbage on the planet. And you try to uphold it like it's not. Like I said, check out the Boy Scouts, what they did, and check out how the church was involved. How many of your sons, fathers, uncles trying to be in other people's organizations instead of coming up with your own? Isn't that what the Black African American do? Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Or your kids are going to eat the same fruit that was shoved down your throat. The average person doesn't even read the Bible, don't even read it. And the person that do read it, after they read page 1, what I found, many have vowed never to touch the book again because they were taught to read. They were taught properly. So now you see that's an institution that's defunct, really. Nobody's into it no more. So the Hebrew Israelite, and remember, a lot of indigenous people went over to these places and set up lives in other places. Imagine the indigenous people that live in Israel. Imagine how they feel. Really? Somehow we take pride in that. Last but not least, this is the de-evolution of an identity crisis. This is where people put all their energy into other ideologies, other beliefs. And what they should be doing at their home, where their people are from, they just totally turn their back on it. The last one is a sickening one to me because I see many Black African Americans. I see Black and African Americans let those people talk and they don't say a word. They'll invite them onto their platforms and let these people talk for 45 minutes without saying a word. And all they're doing is lying. So that's what I mean. A lot of these people, they are these boule people. You gotta understand that, especially in this whole keeping you confused, because everybody's arguing, oh, Black man ain't no Indian. He is. Damn, all you gotta do is look. All you gotta do is, it is. It is. Nobody vibes in their environment like the so-called Black person, but he's going under the moniker of Black, and he's not going under the things that his people set up in the natural world. You see, when it comes to dealing with the natural world, African American and Black, they're into the artificial. Right or wrong, you damn right. So this one is a Native American. What's a Native American? This is all you have to do. Look at the words and then break them down. What do they mean? A native is a slave. Look, that's the definition. It's a slave. They got you arguing on something, and these people wasn't even here when most of your folks was thriving without interference. They weren't without any interference. They weren't even here. Yet you argue with them and waste a lot of time, put out a lot of confusion. You don't even know yourself. That's one of the main reasons we lose. Those who talk shouldn't, because you're just confusing everybody. Native Americans. I have seen them and so-called Black people, FBAs, all these people who claim that they're Indians. Again, Indian is a term that other people gave you. What did you call yourselves? And this is the shitty part about it. And this ain't me. This is your people calling. Your people left their names all over the place. Your people left who they were all over the place. What happens? Native African Americans and Blacks ignore it. Ignore it. That's the disrespect that you show yourselves. Native Americans, well, how come you just don't call yourself Americans? When you ask that question, I'm sure if you go to Uganda, they don't call themselves native Ugandans. They just call themselves Ugandans. I'm sure if you go to some of the other places in the world, they call themselves by the names that their ancestors come up with. You argue with these people, waste up life's energy arguing and talking about nothing. That's what African American and Black people do. And that's all they're ever going to do. That's what they're trained to do. That's why they're called. That's why they're identified by what they are. If you saw somebody Black, actual Black, walking down the street, you'd run for your life. Yet you call your children that. Yet you worship groups that destroyed you, that call themselves Black, destroyed you, and you champion them. That's why you always lose. You won't even think about it. Simple ideas, simple things that went down. You don't even look at them. Why? Because your mind has been blanked out, been blacked out. All you want to hear is feel good stories. Never want to go into yourself and check out you. Check out who you are. You'll find some of the best stories about yourself from yourself. Just imagine if the so called Black African community cut off the TV and cut on their minds and checked out their stories. That's right at your fingertips, but refuse to do it because other people have told you you're Black. Other people have told you you're African American. Other people have told you you're Hebrew Israelite, and you believed it, and you play the role, don't you? Yeah. So that's the de-evolution of the energy crisis. Don't put your children in a position where they get in all of these ideologies, beliefs, suit all this crap. Show them who they were. Show them who their people were. Show them what was the spiritual practices of the people where they come from. If they came from what is now called Louisiana, show them the spiritual principles of the Chitamacha. If they're from the Alabama area, show them the spiritual practice of the Lettahatchee people. If they're from Virginia, what does the Accomack do? These are who you are. You call yourself Greek because it rhymes with creek. That's what we teach our children. Got to do better, y'all. Hey, we're going to go ahead and close it out. Any questions before we get out of here? I was invited to a friend's house tonight to watch the basketball game. Oh man, but I couldn't stay, man. It's the same shit over and over and over and over and over. Watch the same ball go on the hole, same football pass, get nothing new. That's the mindset. So teach your children better, teach your grandchildren better. Let them figure out some stuff for themselves. It'll be way better for the family. Let those minds develop on its own. Don't poison them with these ideologies, belief that somebody shoved down your throat. Don't pass it on to your children. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.